In the Malaysian Parliament, there are 222 members of Parliament. And guess what the numbers of women are? Only 24 female MPs. Today in the House, we have Kasthuri Patto, who was actually a microbiologist. What was it like moving from the lab to Parliament, Kasthuri?
Well, it was a transition over a few years. I enjoyed myself immensely as a microbiologist working in a lab. But after working for a few years, I felt that it was time that I wanted to be a part of the nation building in the country. And what better way than to join the party which has always been like a family to me.
And that party would be?
DAP.
Why was the party like a family to you?
Well, my father, who was a member of the party since 1972.
Of course, V. Patto is very, very well known.
Yes. And he was Lim Kit Siang's political secretary as well.
I see.
So after being MP Adun from between his tenure as a politician for about 20-30 odd years,
right.
We had been exposed to, my sister and I, my family rather, had been exposed to politics from a very young age. Like for me, example, my father took us for charamas, he brought us for hunger strikes.
But talking about your father, V. Patto, who's a very well-known politician, who always fought for the rights of workers, for the common people. What was it like at 8 years old when he was detained without trial under the Internal Security Act? The ISA was a frightening, oppressive law. What was it like at 8 years old for your father to be taken away to jail, really?
Well,
yes.
For any 8-year-old, you don't know what the ISA is. You don't know what it means. You just know that your father is a good man who did not do anything bad and he was arrested by this government for no reason. So I just woke up being one morning and my mother telling me, your papa has already been arrested. And so has Lim Kit Siang, because we all knew them by name already, who Karpal Singh was, who Lim Kit Siang was. And so she told me and my sister that all these men had been arrested. In the early 80s, I joined a picket to ban CFC in YWCA in Ipoh.
Okay.
So my mother also told me some women there had also been arrested.
Right.
So that turned on a light in my head that it wasn't just the DAP men, but there were other women as well who were, to what I looked at as, at being a young girl at that time,
right.
Brave women to stand and fight.
Because women came forward to stand up for rights.
So it gave me an impression that it wasn't just DAP men who were arrested, but women as well.
You were saying that, what are you doing for the constituency? Specifically, before we began, we're talking about helping out Indian women because you've identified a problem among the Indian women.
Yes. Geographically, some part of Batu Kawan is urban, which is Prai, and then you move on down to fishing village and cattle rearers and estate areas. So I find that the Indian women in my constituency particularly are more marginalized than the others. And with the occurrence of domestic violence and the abuse of alcohol, pertaining to Samsu Haram, in other words. So what I've done is I've worked together with PWDC, which is the Penang Women's Development Corporation, together with WCC, Women's Centre for Change, and PPW. I know they're all acronyms and a mouthful. To reach out to particularly Indian women, to explain to them what domestic violence is, gently, because it can be a heavy subject for them to accept and understand.
But basically giving them options, right?
Yes.
Now, Kasthuri Patto, Yang Berhormat, right? Tell me, if a young woman wants to be a politician, what words of advice do you have?
First of all, this young person, this young lady, this young woman has to be someone who has a keen interest in national issues in the country.
Right.
She should be abreast with what's going on because at the end of the day, it is a job that serves the people, not the government, not the king or the prime minister or his wife. So she must identify and she must know that when she sets foot to follow this path, that she's passionate about nation building, that she's passionate about fighting for the rights of the marginalized.
But what about all the challenges? Because I've seen you all in Parliament, the booing and the shouting every time the opposition stands up. You ought to have
particularly women,
and especially women. So would you say you have to have a very thick-skinned? You need to be very, courageous.
True, but you also have to have a good sense of humor. But basically, provocators in Parliament are there to provoke you.
Okay,
so if you have a good sense of humor, you just laugh it off and you put them back in their place and you continue your debate.
Well, you've heard from a very young female politician, a sense of humor, passion, and you're on your way to becoming a politician. Thank you.